Hello everybody, this is Fernando for the latest aliens and UFOs video. Alright, let's go ahead and let's do another encounters video here. These seem to be very popular when it comes to the views, the likes, the comments as well. So I'm always glad to be able to share more of these here. This one has to do with a fascinating entry, a first when it comes to this playlist, and that involves the good old classic story involving cow mutilations. You've heard of those before, right? When it comes to the world of aliens and UFOs, for some reason, throughout the U.S. and other parts of the world, there have been numerous, untold amounts of cow mutilations that have been, at least theoretically, linked to sightings involving UFOs. Who knows why, essentially, cows seem to have that type of attraction when it comes to UFOs, and why not other animals that are out there. But in this case, here's yet another one that I'll talk about here, and apparently a pretty recent one too. But it has to do with this. It's from a user by the name of Mikey's Main Man 2131, and he titled it, "Pretty sure I seen a UFO, and then a cow got mutilated a week later." So let's go ahead and let's share that encounter here, and then I'll give my own thoughts on it afterward. So here's what they have to state. This is somewhat of a long story, but I'll try to keep it short. I used to work on a ranch in Central Oregon, an hour from the closest town. It was literally the middle of nowhere. And so one afternoon around 7 p.m. or so, I was driving back across the desert. The sun was just starting to set, but it was by no means dark enough out to see stars yet. And so I happened to look up for a second and noticed what resembled a star right above a mountain, except it was a little bit bigger and brighter than a normal star. It looked like it was shaking a little bit too, and then all of a sudden it dropped down a little ways quickly and then shot up straight into the sky even faster and then just disappeared. For some reason I never even thought about it twice, but I still have the memory clear as day in my mind. Anyways, a week later, when I got back from work at my boss's other ranch, he tells me the news about a mutilated cow out on the desert. This was around 7 miles or so from the highway, and like I said, an hour away from any town, down a road that's more rough than you could even imagine. And there it was a cow that had mysteriously died. There were no tracks around, no drops of blood to be found anywhere. A perfect square slice of skin taken from the belly, and the genitals and tongue were cut clean out. And there was a hole in the chest where I'm guessing that they took the heart. I can't even explain the eerie feeling you get around that water trial when the cow died. Even to this day, my horse wouldn't even go anywhere near where that cow was. And so the police came up and looked at it, but it was a few days later and they never got any leads. And this has been going on for years and years, dates way back. And so cows dying in mysterious ways, and not one person has ever been caught. I didn't even think about how I'd seen the UFO a few days earlier, but when I did, I finally put two and two together, and I still believe that's what was behind it to this day, although there are many theories about what truly killed that cow. And then it happened into the neighbor's farm the next year too. And then that's it. That's everything that this user has to state with regards to their UFO/cow mutilation experience. So let's go ahead and let's talk about that here. For starters, yet again, that involves another location out there in the middle of nowhere. Anyone know though about that area, Central Oregon? Apparently, if you go out there, you may have a chance to see essentially what this guy saw when it comes to that tiny dot, the one that looked a little bigger than your average star and was moving about, and obviously it disappeared in such a quick fashion. So if you happen to be by that area, let me know. You have to be there, and again, an hour away from that location, and then that's where essentially you'll be in the middle of nowhere, but close to this prime area of UFO sightings. And then of course that's when he gets the bombshell involving the mutilated cow. I'm wondering first how the news of this mutilated cow was even found out there in the middle of nowhere, right? And then this very large ranch, you could just imagine it being probably hundreds of acres when it comes to its area. And so how they happened to come about with this cow, who knows? Maybe the cows led the farmer over to that location, or one of the dogs there led it. Who knows? But either way, they found it, and then that's where things take an eerie turn. Obviously, it was killed in a very calculated precision when it comes to what was taken out of it. This was no animal that essentially just tore it open and ripped it to shreds as you would expect, like let's say anything else involving a predator. No, in this case it was absolutely a perfect square, and then there was precise items taken out, in this case the genitals and the tongue, and then that's where the hole was, right there by the heart as well, and then the heart was presumably missing too. And then of course one hopes that the cow died before all of this happened, but there were no clues at all as to who or what did this. As he mentioned, there were no tracks, there were no drops of blood. Everything seemed to have just been done in a very precise manner with no blood and no gore, nothing at all. It was just basically with very, very precise precision. And that's, of course, what mystified them. I could totally imagine when the police were brought out and some hopes that something could be done, that even they were thinking, what are we going to do about this? Especially when it comes to a strange sighting like this out there in the middle of nowhere. Isn't any wonder that there were no leads? It was probably given a somewhat serious glance, but then after that, then that was it. Like, what else could they do? What else could anybody do when it comes to this type of stuff? It would just be chalked up as another weird thing that happens out there in some farmland. And then if another one occurs soon, and maybe there's some tracks maybe that could lead to some type of leads, but otherwise, no, that was just completely left as is. The way the guy worded it too, as far as this happening for years and years, it seemed like this was the first time this ever occurred there in that farmland. And then lo and behold, when he said the next year it happened to the neighbor's farmland, that's where things, of course, makes you realize that, yep, they're out there, and then they're going to stay there, and they've been there for a while, and they'll continue to do this type of stuff. Nobody knows exactly why, again, cows are involved with such precise mutilations. Maybe it's something involving studying the animals when it comes to these aliens, or maybe it's trying to do something else, clone them, or try to get precise items in terms of skin, or maybe in terms of animal parts. Who knows? It's just out there, and when it comes to this stuff, nobody else has been able to even gauge any close proximity to what this type of stuff is for. But that's pretty much it. That's everything I have when it comes to this particular encounter. If anybody knows some information, anything else I might have missed, maybe those of you, again, local to that area there in that Central Oregon place, love to hear what your thoughts are. I think this is the first time I ever talked about that location too, about that state, and as far as anything involving UFO encounters. It's not something that pops to mind, right, when it comes to this, and so it's interesting to hear that this was the very first time that came across. But I love to hear what anyone's local thoughts are with regards to it. All right, everybody, thanks again as always. Take care.